Thank you for being with me. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields, watching multiple areas. One right here near Belarus, up toward Latvia. Another one sliding throughout the day, say over toward parts of Scotland. Then we swing back here in another larger system that will be moving in later this week. And this one will have some impacts that will last days because eventually it will be a slow mover. So what I want to do is take you out in time in this video for the entire week to show you what's next, kind of what's coming our way. Now, I want to touch upon this on Saturday, 5.3 magnitude earthquake in Greece, and a lot of us felt it because it wasn't too deep, about 10 kilometers down or 6 miles down. That's a shallow quake. So anything around 5, that shallow, many of us did feel it. Note that I'm watching all of the earthquake activity. There was a little uptick late last week into the weekend. I'm monitoring that for you. Now, here's a different map, just a different vantage point. Looking at later today, tracking some of the storms, Ukraine down through Bulgaria, watching out for some of those storms that will be popping up. Also over toward parts of Spain and Portugal, while it might not be widespread, watching out for some thunderstorms and then some heavier pockets of rain. Estonia swinging back toward southern end of Finland, back toward Helsinki. We'll see that chance of rain. And then by tomorrow, you could see some of these storms kind of shift their way off toward Russia, watching over toward Georgia. But then we swing back here again because of the heating from the day. Spain, Portugal, some storms, and then Bulgaria back through Greece. We'll see a few pop-up storms. Now, while they won't be widespread, a couple of those could be strong the next couple days. So watching out for this later today. Now, speaking of which, later today, watching all of these systems. Here's one, here's another, here's this that is going to be coming in. Now, I'm going to zoom down in a moment to cover this as we go hour by hour together. But with that said, I want to show you the big picture, the 3 we're watching throughout the week. So this is as we work our way into the middle of the week. And let me stop it here. This is by Wednesday. So one system kind of slides its way back toward the northeast. We have this here, Finland, down through Poland. And here's that spin. This is the one that'll have some impacts or days because what's going to happen with this is it's really going to slow up. It's actually going to weaken, but then it's going to really drive a little bit more due north, splitting Iceland and Norway right there. You can see that. So by the time we get into Thursday and Friday, it's going to draw in some of that moisture, draw in some of the rain over toward the United Kingdom, swinging back toward Ireland. It's going to be wet at times. And then you see here by Friday, same thing with that spin up toward Norway. This is just going to draw in more of that moisture and even some of those spotty storms for days and days. So a slow mover once this comes in and still even into the weekend, the same scenario. So we have a lot to track for the week ahead, right across the British Isles over toward Iceland. And then we'll be keeping an eye on another system back to the west. But on the south end of this, even parts of France, by the time we get into the weekend, we'll monitor that chance of not only some showers, but that chance of some thunderstorms. So here's a closer look as we head into mid-afternoon, especially back toward Scotland, Northern Ireland, a better chance of getting some of that rain moving by right there. And then by tomorrow, moving over toward Copenhagen, over toward Hamburg, Berlin, seeing some of that. And then here comes another system setting up. So we're kind of in between some of the action for some of us tomorrow. Then on Wednesday, here comes some of that rain. You can see here squeaking into Ireland, and then eventually as we work our way Wednesday into Thursday, this is that spin that'll come in, kind of work its way up to the north. So as we work our way toward the end of the week, it won't be all day stuff, but we'll get some rounds of rain and storms. You see it right there, for example, as we get into Thursday morning, into Thursday midday, we could get some rounds of rain working in, and this is the pattern that will stick around Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and even into the upcoming weekend. So kind of a long haul with that slow-moving system. Now, here's some of the rain today. Estonia swinging back toward parts of Russia and Finland. There's some of the heavier rain. Could get a little bit of thunder and lightning in that, but overall, watching out for some of the rain here. We'll go over those rain totals in just a moment. I covered this piece here, but watch how it moves by Lithuania over toward Poland. Parts of Germany will see some of the rain. There's that one system departing here and the other one coming in. Southern end of Norway, Sweden, watching out for this. You can see some of that rain that will be sliding in. And then as we work our way into Wednesday, this slides over toward Belarus, Ukraine on the south side, some thunderstorms. And then we'll be watching out for this next system that I was just highlighting. That's that third wave of energy that will be working in later this week. Now, as we swing more to the south, pop-up storms possible, hit or miss. I mentioned Romania, Bulgaria, Greece. It won't be widespread, but we are going to see that chance of storms popping up. We covered this. This is by tomorrow. And you see here right into Spain, even a couple in Portugal. Hit or miss storms, may get 1 or 2 in France, but there we go in Greece. Not widespread, but some of those could be strong. This year, mainly rain. Could see a couple thunderstorms with that as we get into late Tuesday, late tomorrow into Wednesday, and then that area starts to push off. Pop-up storms here, and then there's that spin that is just going to lift its way up to the north in the next several days through the end of the week. Into the weekend, we'll just see that southerly flow cranking in that chance of some thunderstorms along our southern zone. So the Atlantic waters, no doubt, are going to be building. Look at the Baltic Sea. We'll see some of those seas kind of kicking up today just with that heavy rain nearby, especially later today and this evening. And then we'll see the seas cranking up. But the system will weaken, so the seas won't be super crazy, but everything's going to be generally active. We're looking at least a couple meters, upwards of about 4 meters in spots the more north we go. This year is by the time we get into Friday. And keeping an eye on some other waterways, of course, as these systems kind of wind their way up. We'll monitor that as we swing back toward Sweden and Finland over the toward the near the Baltic Sea over toward the Balkans as we work our way toward the end of the week. Rain totals look like this. Now these are 3-day totals, so this takes us the rest of today, tomorrow into Wednesday. I mentioned we'll see a solid chance of rain even later this week, but as far as the totals go, for the most part, 25 millimeters or less. Belfast swinging up toward Inverness. That's where we'll see a better chance of rain. Northern section swinging back towards Scotland, better chance of getting some of that rain later today in another round as we get into a Wednesday. This here would be with some thunderstorms, so keeping an eye on Lithuania, Latvia, Belarus, Estonia, and then swinging back toward Finland with some of the heavier rain today. Some spots will be around 50 millimeters of some rain, and then we'll watch out for the thunderstorms. If you get a thunderstorm, we could have spots around 25 to maybe 50 millimeters of rain as we swing back toward parts of Spain and not widespread, but Bulgaria, Albania, back through Greece. Watching out for those pop-up afternoon storms, isolated in nature pretty much all week long. So rain chance in London. So as you get into England on the south side, it is going to be a little bit lower. The more north you go as you approach Scotland, that's where we're going to get a better chance of rain. Bumps up a little bit in Birmingham, but again, mainly to the north. That better chance. And you see right here, 50-60% chance of the wet weather later today in through tonight. Some of this while we're sleeping. Dublin will watch out for the scattered showers kind of moving by, the waves of them over the next couple of days. Rome and Vatican City, we are mainly on the dry side. Pop-up storms, though possible, the more north we go. 20% chance today in northern Italy and about a 10% chance in Milan by tomorrow. And that's it. But Berlin, look at our rain chance, up to 80% for tomorrow with these systems moving by. So this is really a week where you may get a dry day, a wet day, a dry day, and then another wet day. Munich, rain chance about 20% later today into tomorrow. Pop-up shower storm across Paris. Isolated thunderstorm a possibility. Oslo, better chance though tomorrow. We're up to 50% chance with that wet weather nearby. Stockholm, meanwhile, look at that rain. The rain chance stays elevated all week long, but through the rest of today, we're looking at a 60, maybe 70% chance of rain. Helsinki with that rain nearby. I mentioned the southern end of Finland. All the way through tonight, we have a better chance of rain around. Brussels, 20% chance today, 10% chance for tomorrow, up to a 60% chance tomorrow in Amsterdam. Some of that rain that's squeaking by parts of the UK will be eventually sliding in. Athens, the rain chance is low, yes, but it's not zero. There will be a few storms around the next few days. Same goes for Belgrade, watching out for a couple of those afternoon storms, evening storms with a daytime heating. And we do that again in Madrid, but we could see a severe weather threat. I'll monitor that as we head toward midweek. We may get a couple stronger storms around, pop-up storms possible the next few days in Barcelona. Lisbon, 30% chance tomorrow and Wednesday. There are some of those afternoon storms with us. With that spin moving in midweek in Iceland, we'll see a better chance of rain and snow. Vienna, couple pop-up showers and storms, not quite as active as what we had last week. Prague, a rain chance staying at about 10%. Could get a thunderstorm. 60% chance today in Poland, 20% chance tomorrow, back up on Wednesday up to a 50% chance. And for what's left of today, not a whole lot in Kyiv, but by Wednesday we'll see a better chance of some storms across Ukraine. 10% chance of some of those pop-up storms in Istanbul, and watching these fronts kind of sliding by, especially later today and even tonight in Moscow. So storm systems are on the move. We're tracking one now, areas of rain. Another system moving in late this week. That'll be the slow mover That could even bring some severe weather to some southern countries. And I'll be tracking that as we go throughout the week ahead, and no doubt monitoring the earthquake activity and keeping an eye on the Atlantic basin as a whole, because it is hurricane season. Thank you for being part of this weather community. Have a great rest of your day.